Thank you for joining the Sharpest College Football Podcast. This is our Week 8 preview. I am BuckMetrics, joined as always by Robert Martin. Robert, aren't we due for a winning week here?
I think so. We're getting better. We had not have bad week. We had our best week yet so far. It is turning around, but I think the worst is behind us now at this point. I think there's still some weird stuff happening, but I think we're starting to get the better of this now.
Yeah, I'm tired of excuses, and I don't know if what's bad luck versus just trying to justify. I try to be level-headed about this, but honest to God, I didn't even put this in the Sharpest lookbacks, but we had a dual model play on Washington and Rutgers going over. I think you were watching some of that game. You and I and Isaiah were DMing and saying this game should have gone over. There were so many red zone turnovers there, just stupid things. There should have been 90 total points in that game. And it didn't even go over 56.
There's been a lot of stuff. Like we got, I think, was it just my play or was it a your play where we had the over in Ohio State, Illinois too? Right?
No, it was the under. It was the under.
We had the under?
We had the under and it went over. Yeah.
Yeah, just by a point or something.
Yeah.
It's just like some of this stupid stuff where it's just like we're 1 point off. Same as in, I think, the Alabama-Missouri game. It's just like the stupidest thing where it's, this one score would have flipped it, or one less score, one more score. It's the dumbest stuff.
Yes, the dumbest stuff. That's going to be the name for part 2. Oops, sorry. My dog doesn't like that idea. My wife just came home. Apologies. All right. This is our glossary. In case you're new, take a copy of this and save it wherever you do your college football stuff. And if you are returning, by definition, you are brilliant. With that, let's look at our Week 7 results real quick. Again, not great. If there is one kind of upside to this, it's a total of 10 and 6 this year, which is good. But for 46% for the year, not going to get it done. I think the worst seems to be behind us. We hope, although Clay Travis still has a winning record, which really makes me concerned. It could just be one of those lean years for us. But we will see. Our top 20. This is always, every 2 or 3 episodes, we have a movie reference where I say, you remember this? And you say, I have no idea. Do you have any idea what this is in reference to?
Oh, this looks familiar. That's not Tom Hanks, is it? No, that's not Tom Hanks.
You're not going to get the movie.
No, I don't think so. What is that?
All right. It goes with our number 1 team here. It is the movie called Hoosiers. That is Gene Hackman. I feel like a game show host, like with the ditzy lady who just got it totally wrong. That is not Tom Hanks. That is Gene Hackman. Although they are often confused, I will say that. I've never heard those two confused.
It's a small picture. It's a small picture. It's hard.
It is. I had to get the whole team in there for the Hoosiers thing because just Gene Hackman wouldn't be enough. So, Indiana number 1 in my ranking, and by Athena also. You have them as 7. In the top 20, a few that stand out here. Old Dominion still in the BuckMetrics top 10. What's interesting is I tweaked Athena a little bit, and all of a sudden that kind of just opened the floodgates. Old Dominion fell to 36 in the Athena, and you have Old Dominion at 25. So, interesting little difference there. I don't know why BuckMetrics model still doesn't like Miami so much, especially when Athena does. There seems to be some kind of little contagion here between, how do I say this? A little interesting difference in the BuckMetrics and Athena as relates to that Miami Notre Dame game, because Athena just thought that was good football, a top 5 matchup, and the BuckMetrics model not so much. Your model's kind of split here. You have Miami a nice 4, but you have Notre Dame. You're not as sold as Athena is for sure on them. And here's just the thing that we're talking about not too long ago in the Week 7 review. I still have Toledo, the BuckMetrics model, in the top 20. Because they actually should have won that game. They were such like that post game 80% win probability. I explained, I think it was last week, the way that they performed, it did not show up on the scoreboard, and so that performance on everything but the scoreboard is probably very repeatable, and the BuckMetrics model didn't like it. I think Athena saw that and said, you did what against a MAC team, and just slapped them way down closer to where you are. So
yeah,
those are the things that stand out to me in the top 20. How about you?
So actually, just a quick point here. Indiana is actually the number 1 in my rankings. I think that's a bit of a mistype there. So it is a unanimous number 1. We have a unanimous number 1 there in Indiana this week.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. No, everything else is. I checked. Everything else is good. No, but it's just that. But yeah, so number 1 across the board. I actually really like that, and I think by any objective measure, Indiana, like if you're doing any sort of math, Indiana should be number 1, and I like that. I will say I like where I have Ohio State 2 and USC 3. I really like the fact that I have Texas 34th. I feel like that's actually very correct.
You're proud of that, are you?
I'm proud of my model for saying that, and also for Arkansas, and the fact that my model has Florida State 37th, definitely not Florida 37th, Florida State 37th. I like where my model has ranked a lot of these teams. It makes a lot of sense. But no, Old Dominion is interesting. Here's the thing: you could say whatever Old Dominion in 10, but even at Old Dominion 25th in my model, that's a really high ranking for Old Dominion, straight up.
Yeah.
And especially a team that just lost to Marshall, too, mind you. So that's a bit weird. I have them high, but I'm not sure specifically why. Vanderbilt the same. Texas A&M again. I thought I'd have Texas A&M higher. I thought my model would like Texas A&M more, but it just doesn't, and maybe that's okay. I don't know. But Alabama, where they are, my model likes Georgia now for some reason. I'm not completely sure why, but it does. And I think, yeah, the big surprises are Miami, and I think Miami this week plays Louisville, and my model has them fourth, but I am 100% believing that we're just any moment Mario's got a Mario. He's got to do a Mario Cristobal thing. It's gonna happen. We know it's gonna happen. The thing is, see, this is the thing, right? It's when you least expect it. You least expect it right off a bye against a bad team, or what should theoretically be a bad team in Louisville. You wouldn't expect it here. This is where it's going to be. Maybe they don't lose this game, but I think this game would be relatively close. I think that's exactly when it strikes. It's not when you think it's going to happen. It's the second you least expect it, that's when he'll do it. Because he did the exact same thing at Oregon, too. When he was the head coach of Oregon, it'd be like, oh, we won all these games, this is great. And then we play Arizona State, a horrific Arizona State team. We're like 23.5-point favorites, and you lose outright. That's the kind of thing. That's when Mario Cristobal is at his finest, when he loses games that he had no business losing. He will win the games he shouldn't. He will win the games and look like the best team in the country in some of those games. But the second you play like a team that they should absolutely crush, that's when this all falls apart. So we're potentially days, maybe hours away from Mario Cristobal going full Mario Cristobal, and I'm excited for this.
Well, the fault in your argument lies in the great college career that Herm Edwards went on to have after that game. So
yes.
Yeah, it all falls apart there. All right, top offenses. First time, my team, number one, after running up an incredible offensive performance against Michigan, number one. The other thing that just sticks out to me, too, is Georgia Tech. As much as they just seem a 1950s offense where the quarterback runs way too much and they pass the ball and kind of don't, but they just really just want to maul you. Interesting that they're not just top 20, but top 14 here.
Yeah, it is. It's a very high number for them. My model likes Georgia Tech. My model has Georgia Tech a top 10 team, and I think they're a pretty good offense. I think, again, I still worry about Georgia Tech when there's expectations on them, but I think overall they're just a good team, and they're a good offense, and I think there's a lot of teams that have very suspect offenses, and I think they fit in nicely there.
Yeah, the other thing, too, that really sticks out to me is there's not a lot of movement. It's only middle October, and there was not a lot of change in the teams in the top 20 here. Just really has settled down a lot, which was interesting to me. Getting to some of the more detailed metrics here in top 10, Ryan. As someone whose team faces Notre Dame, seeing them just jump into the top 10 in Team Ryan is interesting. What actually sticks out to me more is they only have one guy in the top 100, and he's ranked 65th in player Ryan. So they're throwing, it's basically if you're lined up and you're not a center or a guard or a tackle, you're going to get the ball thrown to you at some point. That can be tricky for my Trojans. They weren't in the top 10 last week. Other thing that sticks out is we said, look, Georgia's numbers or metrics are not overwhelming. I think their ground game gets a little overlooked because I think we get focused on Gunnar Stockton is or is not this or that. And their run offense is pretty darn good. They're 7th in my GGAB plus here.
Yeah, I think Georgia is becoming a running team. I know people are talking all about Gunnar Stockton, but he's not really he is not the centerpiece of that offense. It's very clearly a run first team. Same as Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a pretty good passing attack. It's not that strong on running anymore. It's not the Jeremiah Smith show. It's far more passing from CJ Carr. So it's at Missouri is a very strong rushing attack. It's not. It went from last year being, I think, the Brady Cook offense, passing offense, to now we're just going to run the ball, and they run it a lot. And I think that's where the key difference is. And Georgia is a good team, but I still feel like they're overvalued, and they're probably due for a loss somewhere around here. And I think it's coming up, but again, another loss. Sorry, they've already lost one game, but Georgia, to me, feels mortally flawed. I feel like they're good, but they're not that good, and I think they're going to get tested sooner rather than later.
Yeah, what's interesting too, if you kind of look at just their metrics as relates to Texas A&M, they're just like a not as good version of Texas A&M. It's like they're not as good as on offense, they're not as good on defense, their quarterback play is not as good. Somehow Kirby, I was on, and I'll promote it more formally in a second here, but I was on the Four Horsemen pod to talk about the Notre Dame USC game this week, and I liken Kirby Smart to like the bad guy wrestler he's just getting pummeled in the ring for 30 minutes, and then when the ref isn't looking, he grabs the brass knuckles out, punches the other guy 1, 2, 3, and he gets away with the win, and everybody's upset. Like, how did he actually get away with it? This is like Pete Carroll from 2007 through 2008. He won games he really shouldn't have. He got away with a lot there. It's interesting. I just see a lot of parallels between this Georgia and that USC team of 20-ish years ago.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a good team, but I don't know if it can win a national championship game.
I can't. Yeah, even what's interesting too. Even what's clear. Well, not to. We've pretty much everybody pretty much says, and I want to agree with this, that every team has some kind of flaw. Going back to part one, I wonder what Indiana's flaw is. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know what their flaw is.
Yeah, not a lot to pick on there. All right, player metrics offensively. What stands out to me is I'm not really sure how Carlos Del Rio Wilson, who really did not distinguish himself at your Florida Gators program, somehow plays against Old Dominion and jumps into the top 10 here. Congratulations to him. Here we go. I want to bring up a couple things on the top 10 player, Ryan. San Diego State, I will pat myself on the back here, like I presciently pointed out about Pitt last week. We're getting a lot of positive signs on both sides of the ball for Pitt, and then they go and they beat Florida State. You're seeing this with San Diego State too. Earlier I said I don't know if this defense is going to hold up. Their defense is still good. I'd say especially by Mountain West standards. And now they have a top 10 receiver by my metric here at San Diego State. Also want to point out, we saw this a few weeks ago at Air Force. Now we're seeing it with Navy. Now Navy has a top 10 receiver. We never saw this before. Even last year when Army and Navy both kind of just were playing, they were passing like never before. Now they're doing it in quantity, it looks like, too. Again, Air Force a couple weeks ago had Cade Harris in the top 10. They're seeing a Navy guy. I just mentioned this because the option ball that the academies are playing now, it might look the same a lot, and I'm not an X's O guy. I'll just say it looks the same to me. But when I run the metrics, it's very different in terms of production.
Yeah, Navy looks really good in terms of passing offense. Bit weaker on the defense, but again, really good on passing offense. Even San Diego State, man, they're just crushing people the last couple of weeks. They've been really good on offense. Again, immediately after the game in which we wanted them to go over, they've just decided to start looking really good offensively. And yeah, Marshall, no idea what happened there. That was just a complete breakdown. No idea why that looked really weird. But yeah, apparently Carlos Del Rio Wilson. And again, it's concerning because we had a bunch of Marshall unders and we needed them to lose more games. So
that one.
Yeah, that one would have been very helpful. Now it's not. The path it's a long journey here. This is not. We're not near the end of the journey, especially for Marshall. I think that gets into what 2-3 or 3-3 or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
They're not there yet. I think we had the under 5.5, but hey, it's getting up there. Like it's under 5.5, under 6.5. So we need them to get off the top 10 player apex list really quickly here.
The good news is I'm sure our guy Clay Hilton will deliver him a loss in the Sun Belt East. He said sarcastically.
Sure he will.
The one thing I'll put it this way. This is my theory. I'm just piecing it together. I did see, this was interesting, and this will tell you what a nerd I am. During last Saturday, as though Old Dominion was really struggling before this thing got out of control against Marshall, I saw a tweet from the JMU account saying, look, I hate Old Dominion, but I need them. I hope they win so that there's actually something on the line here. I don't want them to have two losses when they play us next week. ODU and JMU it's a big game specifically this year because it's going to has Sun Belt East implications, but that's a big rivalry too. Maybe ODU just looked ahead as you and I did against Marshall before the season. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Defensive metrics. I'm a little surprised that Texas Tech is number one. They've been good. I didn't really expect them to be that good. A little less surprised that the Texas Tech mascot actually has a gun.
I know that was allowed anymore.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. Are there any Canadian mascots that actually have like guns?
No, there's some horses, and that's it.
Okay.
There's
so
like
it's only podcast hosts that have guns, like in the firing range graphic. That's it.
Yeah, we're gonna have
okay.
to. I think we're gonna try an archery range next week, but that's fine. But no, it's watch part 1, guys. But no, it's no. There's not really. There's the Calgary. I think it's dinosaurs or.
Isn't everybody the Rough Riders out there?
Yeah, that's the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. But yeah, no, there's the Mustangs. There's the Golden Hawks, the Warriors. And what is U of T? I think they're also the war. There's like nothing, no guns, no guns, like swords and stuff, like old Coliseum warriors,
that's safer.
But no,
okay.
No guns. No guns.
Still an OSHA violation. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Defensively, though, a couple things stick out to me. Maryland, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Maryland was like second in my entire top 20, and lo and behold, here comes October Maryland, and they've dropped to 15th now.
Yeah.
How about this, Jake Dickert working that magic? Wake Forest in the top 20 defensively in year one I did not see this coming at all. You could have given any odds and I would have just passed on Wake Forest in the top 20 defense at any point here.
Yeah, Wake Forest is just randomly okay. And it's concerning. And it's like, my model picked up on it a bit because it got off after Virginia Tech upset NC State. My model, I wanted to bet Virginia Tech again. My model said, nope, don't do it. For Wake Forest's favorite in this game. I'm like, that seems weird, but okay, I just won't bet it. And then sure enough, Wake Forest won it. My model has been nudging me like, hey, Wake Forest isn't that bad. It's not that bad. And I'm like, go away, model. I don't care. But now I think I should care more about that now. Wake Forest is like not bad. They're like, okay.
Yeah, again, good job by Dickert when you least expect it. Just kind of like the opposite of Mario, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, some team metrics here. Hanging tough, Mississippi State. We're halfway into the season, and now they're still top 10 in defensive Apex Plus. That is adjusted for quality of opponent, so that it's not like that's just got bad defense or bad offenses in there. And here's an oldie but a goodie. Iowa now 6th. This is GGAB Plus, so this is adjusted for strength of opponent. We hadn't seen them there for a while. Just the comfort food for the, what do they call that? The breadbasket of America.
Yes. And actually, I'm just noticing on there, Louisville, 8th on defensive Apex Plus. That's shocking. I know they haven't played many good teams though, so that is probably why. But still, though, that's a little interesting. Iowa makes sense up there, but yeah, like Miami, Florida. If you told me Miami, Florida was gonna have the best run defense, like how crazy.
Somebody would have told you. Somebody.
But
Do I need to say the name again?
The best run defense.
Yeah,
true. That's the thing. Like, sure, okay. You want to say top 20? Okay, maybe, but the best. Now let's see what happens this week. But actually, yeah, they've already played USF, Florida, and Florida State. They played every other good team in Florida.
So and Notre Dame.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, and then just moving up the East Coast now. So we'll see. But
and again, the GGAB Plus is adjusted for quality of opponent. So you listed off 3 of those are pretty solid opponents there that are going to help just your strength of schedule here, and in terms of the offenses that you face. All right, and everybody's favorite, the bum list. What a shock, he said sarcastically. Boy, here's a Clay Helton quarterback at number 9, J.C. French. Good job, Clay Helton. Had faith in you. Took a little longer, but you made it there. No one of your guys working his magic in the bum list. And then Malik Murphy at number 10. From Texas to Duke to Oregon State to fired coach to the bum list.
Yeah, tried and true journey right to there. Owen McCowan, E.J. Warner. Again, DJ Legway, a permanent resident of the bum list at this point. Ben Finley. I think it's just obligatory. Every Akron quarterback has to be on the bum list. Just they have to be there. Jalen Raynor actually they just won a game. They literally just minutes ago they just beat South Alabama. So they didn't look particularly good. They scored 15 points. So not particularly. I don't think he's getting off that list. But
wow. So you're saying that Arkansas State held somebody below 15?
14, yeah.
That is noteworthy.
Their defense saved them in the game, but actually I think it may have all just been, no, I think they got a touchdown, but I think they failed the 2-point conversion, so they did get a touchdown. But yeah, no, not a good list here. These are very clearly the bottom quarterbacks in the league, and Florida is, man, I don't know. That's just, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Fair enough. All right. A few sharpest look backs here, looking at plays that we had last week and just seeing if there's any lessons to be learned here. Talked about this in part 1. Look, So I'll explain again real quick. What my model does is it doesn't just say this is the score directly. It basically says based on the performance of these teams in basically efficiency measures, this is what I'm projecting in terms of yards per play and total yards, and that equates to a score of X. With this 80% win probability for Toledo, I'm comfortable my model was on the right side in terms of they really should have covered the 10.5. I'll just keep it brief, not to repeat everybody that listened to part one, but Jason Candle just found a way to not find a way, as he does once or twice a year here. So this is just, what can you do? You don't know when Jason Candle is going to do it. Like I said, he's the Mario of the MAC. So he found a spot, and he did it against an overmatched, otherwise, Bowling Green team. I guess I'd call this occupational hazard, this one.
Yeah, this is, again, we talked about this earlier. Up 21-7 at the half. Just being like, yep, this is great. Just score an extra couple of touchdowns and you're good. You got this. But that didn't happen. They didn't score again until they got a safety, and that was it. Score 2 more touchdowns, game's over. We cover the spread. But nope, we decided not to do that. And again, this is so emblematic of this year. It's just, hey, yep, this should have won, but it didn't.
Yeah.
They should have won, but it didn't. That's just been so many of them this year so far. And again, this always means reverts. Maybe we got extra bounces. It does, and it's already starting to, right? This is the thing. It will mean revert and we'll be fine, but it's frustrating until that point.
Yeah, just the thing. Yeah, exactly. Just I don't complain about it too much. I complain about it, but I don't think I'm fatally flawed when I see this. This is how I react. All right, this one was interesting. Utah State at Hawaii. Hawaii was actually favored by 2. Hawaii won big by 3 scores. What doesn't make sense here is a couple things. This is just, I don't know if this is just, we'll get to the takeaway here in a second. I look at the Apex Plus for Hawaii and a good defensive Apex Plus for Hawaii State. Michael Halahado has basically struggled in a lot of games this year. You might remember he got hurt, and maybe this is part of the angle here. He got hurt against Stanford at the end of that Stanford game. He was really limping around. He had good numbers in 2 games last year, and maybe he's finally healthy, and it's just as simple as that. Plus, maybe you've got the Island Hawaii versus mainland Hawaii factor here too. Everything's off script here. Hawaii's GGAB plus is just about 40 per game, and then they run for 136. They're not even a running team. They don't even try to run this much, as much they actually, were able to run. Pardon me, folks. Let me go back here. It's almost like they by accident got this much. And then Bryson, boy, talk about things I did not plan on saying in 2025. Bryson Barnes was hurt, and it really took a toll on Utah State here. You can see this Jacob Conover had to throw 10 passes. Not that Barnes is having a great game, but he's clearly their QB1 here. A bunch of weird things. Island Hawaii versus mainland Hawaii, and you can see that. Maybe Alahado at full strength, but boy, Utah State just laid an egg here, it feels like.
And it was the second half, too. Like, at half, it was looking okay. I actually fell asleep. I fell asleep in the halfway point of this game, given the fact that it was like 2 a.m. Eastern time. I fell asleep. I was like, we're great, we're good, we're in good shape. And then I woke up and I checked the score. It's, they lost by 3 scores. How did that happen? And it's, they just got completely outgunned in the second half. So, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I might also put a little bit, we've remarked, and I would be curious if anybody's run the numbers. It just seems like there seems to be more home field advantage this year. I know that seems very, I'm 56 and I forget my words, anecdotal. But there's just a lot of stuff that just, a lot of the weird results just seem to be in road games this year. I'll just put it that way.
You say that in the same week that Penn State lost as 20-point favorites at home. And Ole Miss almost lost as 35.5-point favorites at home, too. No, but you are right, though. It's like, for some of these games, the marginal ones, more specifically the ones we're betting on, it seems as though, home field advantage decided to matter for this game. Oh no, it seems like the games we don't bet, home field advantage doesn't matter, but the ones we do bet, it's home field advantage mattered here. So I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Last one here. UCF at Cincinnati. I don't think this one is going to go over. The actual was 21-10, I think, or 20-11. What's just nuts here is, all right, here's the easy part. Cam Fancher had to play, or got to play, depending on which team you're on or against here. The best practice quarterback maybe in the history of the game, except for Jeff Sims, in that he's fooled a couple of coaches into being the starter here. Didn't have a horrible game, but this is what's interesting too. If I look at UCF, They had 400 yards, but on 90 plays. That's not going to light up the scoreboard. And I think this might be really nuanced to the point of just making excuses. You look at UCF, 7 of 18 on third downs, and then 3 of 6 on fourth down. So basically, I kind of look at this as, all right, you had 18 basically third downs, and you eventually converted on 10 of those. And you're basically getting a little over 5 yards of play. This kind of feels like Iowa, doesn't that? It's like you're getting a third down a lot and just really frustrating the other team. It's crap. 3rd and 2, and we can't stop them again. That's what just this game felt like. Look, all credit to UCF. Did not see this happen at all in terms of, we were just talking last week about Cincinnati is just exceptional on offense. They slowed down. All credit to your guy, Alex Grinch, not my guy. Cincinnati only had 48 snaps for the whole game. I don't know how that happens. And then here's just the opposite. 2 of 9 on third down. It's like they couldn't hold on to the ball, even though they're getting what is that? They're basically well over 6 yards a play. So big margin of the yards per play here, but just UCF just kind of improbably, with UC Fast and all that Scott Frost stuff, they just channeled their inner Iowa for a game here.
Yeah, it seems like it, right? It was a very weird game, and UCF has not been particularly good at defense. Neither has Cincinnati. I have no idea why we just decided to just not score any points in this game. It was very weird. Like, you look at, I'm fairly sure in the last 2 games, both these teams went over their totals in just the last 2. If you just use their total from the last game, and both went over the last total. I don't know. And even 55, that's a relatively high total. It's not like that they were expecting 30 points? Like, it wasn't, they weren't expecting this either. It was just a very weird game, very weird result here. So.
Yeah. And maybe we give some credit to our guy, Scott Frost, he says sarcastically, but not our guy, but maybe he actually game planned around, all right, now I understand this Fancher guy stinks. 4.5 yards per pass. I have to basically Iowa him to they didn't win, but to staying close, right? Just use Iowa as a verb.
Maybe, yeah.
It just feels that way if I'm looking at the box score here. All right, you ready to talk some Week 8 games?
Yep, let's get into it.
Okay, and as a reminder, games that you might be wanting to hear discussed that we don't do here, they might be on Island Time. Check it out. Also, we are going to be doing our mid-season awards. We are halfway through the season, so we've got our mid-season Heisman, mid-season Coach of the Year, etc., so tune in for that. All right, for the dual model plays, we were just talking about this a little bit ago. ODU at James Madison. I think you, based on your comments about, okay, ODU still in the top 25, which is really nice for a group of 5 team here. This is what frustrates me, and we're going to see this in a couple times here. When we lose and the models say, no, trust me, bro, you want to bet this team back? It's tough, but I can see what the model's looking at here. Old Dominion, just a big advantage in the passing game and the running game, and these, again, are adjusted for strength of opponent here. Way more explosive on offense, too. Better pass defense. The only area where GMU has any kind of advantage is run defense. I can't imagine that there's some kind of injury that Colton Joseph has that's priced into this, because JMU would have to be a much bigger favorite than that if ODU's on their backup quarterback.
Yeah.
We've got, roughly defense is the same here by the predictives here. There's a 14-point advantage here for ODU offense. I'm just going to I'm going to go with the model here. I'm just going to look. It was an aberration last week. There's too many positive data points here for Old Dominion, so I'm getting points here. My model has ODU by 11. Athena has them by 17. Like I said, Athena's kind of has her own mind this week, which I like. Don't like her just copying the BuckMetrics model. You have ODU by a more moderate 8, probably factoring more in that train wreck against Marshall. So, yeah, I'm going with the Monarchs, despite my reservations, getting 2.5 here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with ODU as well. I think they're not that bad. I think they're actually pretty good, and I think they got a chance here. I think they definitely have a chance, and maybe they can win this game. I think maybe we overlooked it, and maybe we need to start factoring this in more. Maybe that was a look-ahead spot against Marshall. Or maybe Marshall just has a really good quarterback now, and they weren't prepared for it. Maybe one of those two things, but our models really like ODU here, and I trust it. James Madison has kind of looked rough the last couple of weeks. They haven't covered this. They haven't been themselves. Maybe some things were off about them. So, yeah, I'm gonna go ODU.
No, yeah, the whole offense just isn't working for them. The other thing too, I just noticed this is we each have Old Dominion by over a touchdown too. So technically, this is wrong team favored.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe split up your side total and chip a little bit off on the for a little bit extra on the straight up bet there, money line.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prepared to be disappointed. I'll just say that. I'm not thrilled to report to you that we are obliged to bet on the Huskies yet again. Not the Washington Huskies. The Northern Illinois Huskies.
What a weird look! Look at those total. Look at those like projections, man. This is like across the board. That's very weird.
Yeah, it's nuts. We have basically the same game here. It's okay. Basically, there's 3 touchdowns, plus or minus a safety or a 2-point or whatever. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And these are 2 really different teams. If I'm just gonna say, if I see skinny numbers here, especially for a MAC team, I see more fat numbers here. I've got a pretty significant under team and an over team here. That would just make me think that I would just expect the projected scores here to be all over the place. But as you just said, Ohio by 2, basically even. Northern by 1. It's crazy. I'm still suspicious of Northern. You might recall that, and this is awesome to see now that their offensive rating is a -10. How about the worst call ever for the dual model? If not ever, definitely this year would be, hey guys, Northern and San Diego State's going to go over whatever. It didn't go over single digits. So I don't know. Northern just seems to just infect the model. It's just interesting that we just have these consistent, the same game.
Yeah, it's very weird. It says that Northern Illinois, I feel like they must just have this really good defense, and it just completely our model just has no idea how to deal with that. And it's just maybe they could do something on offense this week, and then they just don't. And then it's just all right, that sucks, right? This is the thing. It's just what are you supposed to do in a situation like this? How do you account for this? I'm gonna bet it, but like I don't love it, but I'm gonna still bet it though.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk myself into this. It's not gonna make me be delighted about it, but I'll have less reservations. And this is why I like the format of the podcast. As I just said maybe 15 minutes ago, I just mentioned, hey, guess who has a top 10 receiver now? San Diego State. Team with a top 10 offense, or an offense with a top 10 receiver was held to 6 points by Northern Illinois. This 3.7 is really good by max standards here. Maybe that, look, one of the reasons I was so excited to get the Apex and GGAB pluses was specifically for the MAC conference. Remember, I was just saying, folks, if you have a bad defensive apex in the MAC, you're really bad because you're facing some horrible passing offenses here. I like this. Looks exceptional for a MAC defense here. The defensive apex plus of 95. GGAB at 99 isn't great. Again, for a MAC defense, I'll take it. I think this just feels like more of a rock fight. And maybe, 10 points is enough in a rock fight.
Yeah, you're getting the 11, so you get coverage on a field goal and a touchdown, so I'm going to take it.
Yeah, just kind of like half delightedly. Is that fair?
Something like that, yeah.
Yes. All right. This is either way too easy or we're just the biggest suckers around. I don't know what I'm missing here.
This has gone up already. This has gone up to 17.5 now, so okay. I suspect it means we know what we're doing.
Did you grab it already?
I grabbed some 15.5, yeah.
Okay. So for those walking the dog or washing the dishes, Oregon, when I put this slide together, was actually giving 15.5. I grabbed it at 16.5. At Rutgers at 17. So across a key number here. I'm not really worried. Just to skip ahead to the last chapter here. My model has Oregon by 25. Athena has them by 30. Robert's model has them by 27. So there's plenty of margin on all 3. Look, Rutgers does one thing well, and it's basically throw the ball to 1.5 receivers. Guess what they don't do well? Tackle. Maybe the guy who quit UCLA is just like volunteering at Rutgers defense now as like a defensive analyst. That's a bad number. That defensive number just for Shiano team is unimaginable. I'll put it this way. If there's one coach there's probably no coach I would trust more how do I say this, to avoid like the post tough loss hangover than Lanning. Lanning's not going to let that happen. I was going to say Signetti, but they don't have a possibility for a hangover.
They also can't really, I think with Lanning, you could make, because they had the bye week after the Penn State game, if I remember correctly. They may be coming off a bye, but again, I think Oregon is legit.
Yeah.
I think there's the numbers will underestimate Oregon, and I think this 15.5 is you saying, I don't think Indiana's good. I can't believe Indiana beat Oregon, and just completely ignoring all the data points about Indiana. Right? This is the person like, Indiana's not that good. Oregon beat Oregon, so Oregon's not that good. Also, Oregon didn't even beat a horrible Penn State team. So I think that's the argument that has to be. It has to be that argument of just, yeah, no, okay, it's that has to be what that number is. I want to watch this game. I'll see how it goes, but yeah, no, this screams to me Oregon go in there, cover a spread, and that's what our models have. And I think, and this line's already started moving a bit, so I think they maybe underpriced this a little.
Yeah, it just seems like it's just a flub in the opening line there. And again, I understand and appreciate Rutgers has a good offense. He said angrily they weren't good enough to go over the total last week. Thank you very much. They can pass the ball, but that's literally it. And just to go back a few slides, literally Oregon has, I think, the top pass defense here by defensive Apex Plus here. So I'll put it this way. My model has the highest Rutgers total of 23. I think that's pretty generous, to be honest with you. I just don't think they get there. Maybe just, if you want to have fun, maybe just Oregon first half is even easier money here, right?
Yeah, maybe something like that, yeah.
Yeah. All right, in part one, I said, hey, we'll talk about this in a second here. And here we are. I made a case for Zevi Eckhouse being a different kind of quarterback. So maybe if you normalize this and you squint real hard, you can see, okay, I get it. I know what's going on here to a degree. Washington State's getting a lot of credit for an early kick and Ole Miss just not carrying last week. But that's one data point. And we have three models here. We all have the same score here, too. Virginia 32-32 and 30. Washington State 23-24 and 25. They all feel the same. They're all a touchdown plus difference here. The thing that's surprising is these metrics are not impressive for Virginia. I don't know what I'm missing here. You've got a good, not great, but good by ACC standards passing offense. They run the ball. Where is it? They've got a better pass defense here, a better run defense. Now, of course, they have to give 17. The descriptives up here just point to, I don't know how to quantify that. It just says, okay, it's not going to be close. But you get to here and it gets a lot closer. You get to basically where three different kind of ways say, yeah, it's a touchdown game. I've bet it. Putting on my favorite phrase when it comes to the podcast, my ruthlessly objective cap.
Yeah.
So I've done it, but not with sheer delight.
This is... I mean, I think this is a culmination of a couple data points. I think to bet this, you have to hold a couple of things to be true. It's like Virginia lost to NC State. NC State's not that good. Virginia beat Florida State's not that good. Washington State was competitive against Ole Miss somehow. And that Virginia is not actually that good. And I think that it's just like, we were really quick to praise Tony Elliott there in Virginia. And I think maybe that was a bit premature. Look, I thought for sure the model was going to be like 20-something. And it wasn't. And I was like, wait, what, am I betting on Washington State this week? And I guess the answer to that is yes. This is... when I was simulating the game, I saw Washington State at Virginia come up. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like 25.5, and I'm going to grab this and I'll be happy. But no, it was basically 7. And I'm like, what? I'm like, there's no way. I should be betting on Washington State this week, but it turns out I'm not. Yeah, I am gonna take Washington State. I feel like this could be a bit of a trap game here for Virginia, where they underprepare for this Washington State team, and they're caught looking. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, you are very well cast as a podcaster talking about your picks, much more so than if you're actually selling them, because that was about the worst sales job I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I guess I'm betting on Washington State. Buddy, I'm not paying $100 whatever for that kind of advice.
Yeah. Not good at selling it, but the thing is, that's the amount of faith I have in my model. If my model says something, I listen. I'm like, hey, that's weird.
Yes.
Right, that's the thing.
Yep. All right. This next one is secretly two worlds colliding. We have the most falling of falling stars on one hand, and then we have the most ascendant rock star named Billy Applecheeks or Jerry Neuheisel, whatever he is. He looks like he's about 12 years old. You've got the next great thing, and you've got the last great thing, September, Maryland. And like we talked about in part one, under the greatest offensive coordinator known to mankind, Jerry Neuheisel, this number is a 7.0. We've got UCLA is giving 2.5. Now, if this is moved, this might fall out of the dual model. I haven't checked today.
Let me check it right now. It is UCLA minus 3.5.
It's going against us. Okay. Or in favor of us, sorry.
No, in favor of us, yeah. Are we? So the question is, are we under? Because this is the problem, right? Either we are underestimating this Maryland team, or either we're underestimating UCLA, or they're overestimating UCLA, right? Like, what is an appropriate reaction?
There's more than that. You talked about them in the podcast last week, and I want to talk about
October, Maryland.
Yeah, and that's what I said. There's a bunch of stuff in here. You've got the Jerry Bruins against October, Maryland.
Now Maryland has actually won games in the month of October, so it's like impossible.
Thank you for reminding me of that. I appreciate it, because I think my team was the only one to let them have that privilege last year. But go on.
They have won some games, so I think it's a far bigger. Like, at some point, this run will end. Here's the thing: if you're a UCLA fan, you got everything you wanted from this anyways. You're playing on house money at this point, right? I think. Maybe again, I feel like we are maybe underestimating Maryland. We're underestimating UCLA, but I feel like everybody's massively overreacting to UCLA. I think they were maybe appropriately valued last week by the markets. And to be fair, I had my model did in that last week sway us away from making that a play. I think your model wanted it a play, mine didn't. And then now we're here, right? Now both models want to bet against them. So at 2.5, I was a bit iffy, but 3.5, you're giving me a field goal, I'll take it. Like, at some point, someone's going to figure out what this UCLA team is doing, and it's just basically running the ball. And Maryland actually has a pretty good run defense. I don't think Michigan State actually does. So I think maybe they might be the perfect candidate to stop them.
Are you actually going to play this one?
I think I believe this more than the Washington State one, honestly.
Really?
How crazy is that? We're like, here's a 17.5 point favorite. It's only 7. Here's like a 2.5 point.
Now. Did you fall asleep when I had that? I put a nice graphic together and I had the picture of Jerry Neuheisel, and I said this number is up a touchdown in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then I also just earlier apparently fell asleep again. I said this number is like a touchdown higher, like literally 2 weeks ago. We've got, and maybe that's baked into the number here. I don't know.
I think this is the right number. I think that they're overreacting, and that's where we gain the advantage of overreacting. Now, you want to make the argument UCLA should win the game, that's fine, but I think there's at least a field goal extra on their line. And this might not stop. If you told me this closed at 6.5, I wouldn't be shocked. Would you be shocked if this closed?
I was gonna say it's probably better to wait on this one.
Probably.
Right?
Like this could be 6.5, maybe even 7 on Saturday. This could be 7 on Saturday.
I wonder if are they hiding this behind the Big Ten curtain here? Let me see this.
The Big Ten curtain.
It's 4:00 on FS1. This should have been like a West Coast After Dark game. So like they're gonna put this against. I don't know. Not that it's a great game, but I would think that they wanted to do like a night game instead. Yeah, I would wait if you want to bet it, because I think I'm not surprised it went up to 3.5. I think it'll just go more and more. I think the other thing too is when you and I disagree on a game like this, I'm just going to make a jump here, but I think you can back me up. When we have to break a tie on a game like this, we go to Isaiah, and what do you think he's going to say?
I actually don't know. I don't know what he's going to say.
Come on. Okay. I'm sure he'll let us know once he listens. Yeah, I wish I had your optimism, but I'll wait till Saturday morning or afternoon now.
Get till 7.5 or like.
Of course, yeah. All right. I mentioned this team earlier when we were talking about our top offenses. This one, I think, and I don't want to say it's sneaky-ish, as I've mentioned, the total in FBS games is 53 since they changed the rules like 3 years ago, and this is projecting to 59, so it's high-ish. I think that I'll put it this way. These are two teams, and to get those who are doing the dishes or walking the dog up to speed, Georgia Tech at Duke. Total is 59.5. All three models have this going over. Athena has it at 71. BuckMetrics at 70. Robert at a very generous 77. Thank you very much. I'll put it this way. I'm still reminding myself that this Duke is stronger on defense, or stronger on offense and defense, which is not what you expect for a Manny Diaz team. Keep that in mind. If Manny Diaz is mentioned for the Penn State job, not really the best sign in the world. But the profile of Georgia Tech too, especially for a team that has a good running offense here, I would just think they'd be better on defense. Now, the one thing that would concern me is that Duke, I see this defensive GGAB of 38 is strong. So this is, I think, where we're going to basically figure out if the game goes over. If Georgia Tech gets the running game untracked, then this will go over easily. I think if there's the path where this falls apart for us, it's that. A lot of margin here. I'm happy to go over on it, and sneakily so. Two, I guess, sneaky over teams.
So this is kind of the interesting thing. I think Duke is being slept on a bit here. I think people are massively undervaluing Georgia Tech, and they're like, I saw someone say, see, people like Georgia Tech, but they're only 1.5 point. They're like 1.5 point underdogs at Duke, and people are like, see, that means they're not good. It'd be like, actually, that means Duke might actually be good. Like, you can't just discount Georgia Tech like that. I think this Duke team's actually pretty good. I know it doesn't look that way with the 2 losses, but they look good in those 2 losses against Tulane and Illinois. Yeah, like those.
Various people say they should have actually beaten Illinois because they made a bunch of dumb turnovers.
But this is where the data we look at, the yards per play data, is far more informative than some of the other stuff. And it's, they lost to Illinois by 30 or something, but it's just okay. But they shouldn't have. If you look at yards per play, they shouldn't have lost that game. Or, the Illinois, the Tulane game should have been closer, right? So this is the thing where I think Duke is actually just not bad. I love playing this as just an over. These are two teams that can just keep scoring if they want to, and that's exactly what we have there for the offenses. So, give the over here. Duke is, I'd love to actually play Duke here, but the book caught on. The books realized this game should be pretty close. But I think people misunderstand that. I think people, again, as I said before, people see that and they're like, books are out on Georgia Tech. Books are just high on Duke is the actual correct answer.
Yeah, and all three models have basically the same game. High 30s, low 40s with a bit of an outlier here or there. But pretty much the same game. All right, let's go to the next one. Boy, clash of styles here. Mike Elko defense against the Bobby Petrino, just unload the whole boat on offense here. Got to say, I was wrong about Arkansas before the season. I thought that we had seen peak Taylon Green last year under Petrino, and maybe it's just a matter of now he's calling the plays that he actually wants to use to win the game. He's the head coach.
Yeah.
So, you've got two good quarterbacks here in Reed and Green. Both these teams run the ball very well. But Petrino, obviously, that's in his whole thing, too. Two pretty explosive offenses here, especially on Arkansas. You think of Taylor Green, you think, okay, running quarterback, maybe they're not going to be explosive, and it's not as developed as a passing game, but it is. I think Arkansas is, my second-ranked or third-ranked offense in all of FBS here. Arkansas, very good over team with this very generous passing defense and quite obliging on the run as well. This is where it gets a little tricky for me. Texas A&M's defense has been tough this year. Not exceptional. They've had this crazy stat, and I don't remember it exactly, but I'll just say they've been really good on third down. Now, whether that's repeatable or not, who knows, especially against a very much elite offense here. Now I'm talking through it. I think that the fact that this game is in Arkansas maybe gives a nudge to Arkansas in that way, and maybe that's an intangible for the over here. So, all over the place in terms of the games here. This is interesting. This is the first one I've seen this in the games this year. Not all of them, but the ones that have been on the pod. I actually have different results between BuckMetrics and Athena. BuckMetrics has Arkansas by 4. Just loves the Arkansas offense. Athena gets a little more normalized and says, Texas A&M is the real big boy team here. Robert even more Texas A&M by 6. But what's the margin here? We have 74, 68, and 69 totals, so we've got a touchdown for each of those. So over is the play here.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, this is coming off the heels of Tennessee beating Arkansas by 3. It was 30 something to 32. It was 35 to 32 or some number like that. It was a high scoring game. They both scored over 30. And that's all.
Was that at Tennessee?
I believe it was at Tennessee, yeah. And to be fair, if you remember, we speculated that. We said, hey, by the way, Arkansas might be better than they look, there's a chance of them coming back after the firing and being good here. And Texas A&M has been a little suspect. They've been winning games, but okay, yeah, they beat Florida, but they were expected to beat Florida, and they were only favored by 7.5, and they only beat them by 17 points. Like, good, not bad, but like you would have wanted a bit more there. And Texas A&M has been so weird because it's okay. They've looked They didn't cover the spread against Auburn. They looked a bit underwhelming against. They looked underwhelming against Auburn. They looked underwhelming against Notre Dame. They barely beat Notre Dame. And then it's okay. Here's a good Mississippi State team. They crushed the good Mississippi State team. And now we're here, and they look a little underwhelming against Florida, and now we're here, and it's just like at some point something's gonna snap for this Texas A&M team, and maybe it's this week.
Yeah, and the other thing too, you bring up some good points there. And Mississippi State started the season off with a really good defense, and as we just talked about a few minutes ago, their pass defense is still there. I think Florida has a functional defense, if not good. I think things will be much more obliging in Fayetteville. I think that's where this game is. I don't know if they still play any games in Little Rock here, but I think at Arkansas things will be much more obliging for the Texas A&M offense. And this is a pretty good defense here. It's not. This is far from elite, and I just think that all respect to Elko, the advantage here is to the Arkansas offense in terms of when Arkansas has the ball. I think this is two teams trading punches for 60 minutes. You said the total at Tennessee just basically got to this number right here. I think that this is going to feel better, especially when it's at Arkansas. Yep, over for all three models and for me as well. All right, we'll talk in a little more detail about this one since it's one of the biggest games of the week. I don't know what. I guess depending on your region of the country and who you root for, but one of the biggest ones, like we talked about in part one here. I'll just say, it's an elimination game for Notre Dame as far as the playoff goes. And it's, I guess, maybe call it a qualifier for USC as far as the playoff. Like, they stay alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, or else the path gets really narrow. Then they have to, like, win 3 games in the Balkan Peninsula or something just to continue. So USC at Notre Dame. This opened at 9.5. Isn't it 7.5 still?
I thought I saw it tick up to 8. I could be wrong about that. It's back up to 9.
Okay. So it's moved around. I don't know why ESPN's app doesn't have point spreads anymore. Does it? I don't know. Anyways. All right. This is an interesting game. Don't want to relive all of part one. Just rehash the USC versus Michigan game. USC, as I mentioned, top of the podcast here, the top-rated offense. Oh, look at this. Notre Dame's passing defense is just about the same when we're adjusted for strength of opponent. USC with a slight advantage here in the run offense. USC slightly more explosive. Notre Dame is top 10, as I pointed out too at the top of the podcast too. And Ryan is unadjusted for strength of opponent, and let's not forget that Notre Dame has played, by some measures, the best defense, named Miami. And they also play Texas Tech, a pretty good defense here. So it's not like they've had a bunch of easy ones here. Obviously, Notre Dame with an advantage on the defensive side of the ball. Better pass defense, better run defense. We're on different sides here, and this is one of these weird things. My model has Notre Dame by 6. Athena has Notre Dame by 11. Robert's model, again, just loving USC, has USC by 5. Let's just talk more about this. And so all the models, even though we have different sides, which is a little concerning, one thing that's weird is we all have Notre Dame with 39 points, weirdly. The very common total of 39 for one team. We all have it pretty safely going over the total of 61.5. And if I just think about, look, I don't want to read too much into that Michigan win. I'll tell you, if I'm looking at that team last week and I say what travels and what doesn't travel, big picture, I think the offense travels. It's balanced. They can run. They can pass. This is by far Riley's best year as an offensive play caller. I don't think that entire defensive effort holds up. At its best, like I said in part one, the USC defense, if they say we're going to try to stop one thing, if they try to stop the run, they usually do it pretty well. They didn't have to pay for that because Bryce Underwood is in his 6th start, and I think that was his 2nd road start, if not 3rd. And this is a very different thing. CJ Carr, who is a top 10 passer, as I pointed out last week, at home. I was on, and just to divert here, I was on the Four Horsemen podcast. Again, Dylan, the guy that introduced Robert and I to each other, he hosts a weekly Notre Dame podcast. I was on there. I was their guest this week, and we did 2 hours on this game. So if this is not enough for you somehow, listen to that. Really good discussion of the rivalry and all things USC Notre Dame. So I think this is not in the same fury as the last game, but I think that I'll put it this way. I don't know if they're trading punches with the same fury as Arkansas and Texas A&M, but I don't think there's a lot of defense in this one. As much as I was the guy that said Michigan's only going to punt twice, maybe I just roll that one over to this game.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think either of these teams punt more than twice in this game. I think this is... And our models have this here. Both these are great offenses. Notre Dame has the better defense as of recent, but USC's offense is better than Notre Dame's. So this is a pretty evenly matched game, and it's at Notre Dame, so that basically tips the scales. My model has USC favored here, but okay, it's not. I take USC here. I think 9 is too many points. I think this Notre Dame defense is very vulnerable, and USC has a good enough offense that they can do it. Texas A&M did. Right, Texas A&M was able to take them, as was Miami. They were able to put up quite a few points. Miami's wins are starting to look a little weaker, but that's beside the point. But USC was, like, if Texas A&M was able to score that much, no reason why USC can't do the same, right? Now, Notre Dame has gotten better on defense. They were able to shut down Arkansas completely, shut down, who they played last week? Boise State. But their offense was weaker against Boise State too. And NC State too. But I like USC here. I think this could be the end of the road here for Notre Dame going to the playoffs. Now, we'll still have this weird debate about should a 3-loss Notre Dame make the playoff, but you're going to need a lot more chaos in the SEC for that to happen. There's probably a path, but I don't know what that path would look like. It would have to be something along the lines of we'd have to start with A&M losing to Arkansas this week. You'd need like a Georgia loss to Ole Miss. You'd need LSU's gonna have to go down. Like, you need a lot more chaos in the SEC to get Notre Dame in there at 0-3, but it's certainly doable. I think it's possible. But again, this is basically if USC wins this game and they don't lose any other, if they basically get a free shot. If they lose against Oregon, they'll still go to the playoff. They'll be like, okay, we lost to Oregon and Illinois, but we beat Notre Dame. And we beat Michigan. That should be enough to get to the playoff.
And at Nebraska, too, which will have some weight at that point.
Yeah, that would have some weight, too.
Yeah, interesting points. It's... How do I say this? As we said in part 1, USC turned a corner, not the corner. It's going to be interesting to see how they build on the biggest opportunity after their best win under Lincoln Riley, who did beat Notre Dame 3 years ago. Yeah, so it's not like he hasn't beat them yet. It has to fight some kind of thing there. I think the other thing, too, is that the dual model play here is on the total, not the side. I'm not going to play this one, but you could very much talk me into... If you gave me $100, I wouldn't even have to complete the sentence. Definitely, I'd take USC getting more than a touchdown here. It's not the same as, my God, you can't give Cignetti more than a touchdown. It's hard, basically, to spot this USC offense more than a touchdown and say, yeah, we'll catch them.
Yeah.
That's a tall order. And Notre Dame's offense is good, but their defense isn't as exceptional, I think, to slow them down. Now, literally, we're getting to, as I talked about in part 1 a little bit, the big news on USC football Twitter is now, hey, the two true freshmen who were out are now available this week. It's like they haven't played a snap. It's getting pretty dire on the depth chart, and our leading ball carrier figures to be a freshman walk-on. So your mileage may vary with that, but he's been great. He actually is like a top, even though he's our running back 3, I think he's like in the top 20 in yardage in Big Ten rushing.
That's crazy, yeah.
Yeah, this offensive line's running good. So it's like I said, this is his best offense that he's had. It's interesting too. It's because you watch Caleb Williams, you're like, oh my God, this guy, and nobody looks at Jaden Mayava and says, oh my God, this guy. And I think it's because Mayava has better understanding of his capabilities, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's not like Williams threw a bunch of things, but he just seems more disciplined or just like sticking within the strictures of the offense, if that makes sense. Whereas Williams would say 1-2, nope, okay, I'll just do a crazy run for 12 yards here, but it's from sideline to sideline in the process too. So he did that a lot. Good game. That figures to be, I don't know, what would be the game of the week besides that?
Georgia Ole Miss.
Georgia Ole Miss, yeah, that's a big one too. All right, this seems to be the big one too.
I think this is bigger than that one, yeah.
Yeah. Although, I don't know if you caught Lane Kiffin, what he said about, did you hear this, what he said about Kirby Smart? Somebody asked him, like, the two coaches that seem to burn the most calories on the sideline are you and Kirby, very active guys. You know, who burns more calories? Lane said, I saw Kirby's press conference this morning. It doesn't look like he's burning a lot of calories to me. So,
wow.
Yeah. Lane Kiffin just can't help himself, man. He's just, yeah. All right, here's some totals, not model plays, not dual model plays, but they're my model plays, which carrying the freight so far in this young season. Let's go over real quick. Louisville, Miami, and Washington, Michigan. Those are going to be island time, so we'll just talk about those with Duck tomorrow. So we'll go into these a little more detail here. Arizona, Houston. You've got two really good defenses here. Now, here's the thing. I didn't even put this in like the look backs because this is like a come on, you got to be kidding me thing. Arizona and BYU ended on the number last week. Which is frustrating as we had the under there. It's okay, it should have been a push, but hey, there's this dumb thing called overtime. So I know that's the rules, but technically it's a push from a prediction standpoint. Two good defenses here. My model is most bullish on this. You actually have this going over a little bit. I'm pretty comfortable with the under here. Athena likes this one too. Any thoughts on this one?
It's interesting. I think I picked. I can't remember which side. My model likes a side in that game. But I could see an under in this game, though. I think Arizona's defense is pretty good. I think Houston's defense is also pretty good, too. So I could see this being a relatively low-scoring game.
All right. Next one, Oklahoma at South Carolina. I know Oklahoma is still top 20. I think South Carolina, if they're not in the top 20, they're just outside of it. Two good ones. We saw, obviously, Matera's. This is going to be interesting. So the total's 42.5, which is really low. My models have it going safely under. You're a little bit under here, so that's all systems say go. What's interesting to me is, okay, I think Oklahoma shows up here. I'll put it this way. I think if there's going to use the USC question I asked, I think Oklahoma's defense travels. I think that, I don't know if their offense travels, and I don't know if I'm not a doctor, I'm not going to pretend to be one, but how much can that hand improve in 1 week? When you're going from neutral site to now a road game, yeah, South Carolina's defense is not Texas, but it's above average by SEC standards. So this is a low number, but I could see almost something of a repeat as what we saw at Red River last week.
Yeah, I can see that. I think Oklahoma's defense is good. I think Oklahoma's defense is the only thing that kept them in that game.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Oklahoma's offense is, and it hasn't been there for a couple weeks, so South Carolina's defense has been okay, but their offense has not been good. So that I agree. It kind of feels a bit like an underplay to me.
Yeah, the other thing too is like we talked about. Mateer had 3 interceptions. Interceptions can be as much as an overhelp as an underhelp.
Yeah.
So if he just cleans it up, that might not necessarily be better. It might not be to the detriment of the underplay here. Two good under teams too, I think, just overall too. Opposite of that. How about Wyoming and Air Force? Let's just do 30 seconds. Did you happen to watch any of that UNLV Air Force game last week?
No, I don't think so, but I just saw a lot of points being scored.
Yeah, you missed out. That was fun, man. Just again, I want to clarify one thing. I was wrong when I said Air Force doesn't like to tackle. Air Force loves to tackle, but 10 yards downfield. Let's just clarify that. They're in position to get you. Yeah, right after the sticks.
Yeah, give them a sporting chance. You'd be like, hey, yeah, like, you did all this work. You should get a first down.
Yeah, so this I pointed out a couple weeks ago. Air Force is one of the ultimate over teams in that offense is dynamic, and that defense, like I said, boy, they got you once you're 11 yards downfield. They're not going to go farther. So Wyoming's not really the best over team here. That might be why your total's saying think twice about this one, but I just like Air Force. And Air Force for an academy, it's not like they're plodding or play at a super slow pace. They're not like Chip Kelly, Oregon, but I think they figured out that, you know what, if we run the ball well, if we play with a little more tempo, it's not fun to defend us. My models have this at 76 and 77. You're actually going under here, so I doubt I'm going to talk you into the over, but conceptually you can see the case here, yeah?
Yeah, I could definitely see the case. The question is just, is can Wyoming's offense
Yeah.
get there? And that's the only question I have, and I don't know the answer to that. If I believed in it more, I might make an overplay here, but there is still a question of that, so we'll have to see.
I'd be curious what Air Force's lowest total is for this year. That'd be a pretty interesting data point because Wyoming's quarterback was on the bum list, or he was just about on there a few weeks ago too. Caden Anderson. All right, this one bit us last week. Oklahoma State's been friend of the over too. They just don't try on defense. So hopefully Cincinnati can get over whatever. Let me just phrase it this way. And boy, what a supposition this is. So here's the play, first of all. Cincinnati to Oklahoma State. Total is 56.5. I have it going over. Let's just suppose that Alex Grinch actually figured something out against Cincinnati and slowed down Brendan Sorsby, who had actually been really solid for a few weeks there. I'm just going to say that circling the drain as a complete program, Oklahoma State's not going to be able to replicate it because they don't care at this point. I think this is a play on Cincinnati getting right and Oklahoma State just being indifferent. Cincinnati has to bounce back here. Now, maybe asking for a bounce back on the road offensively is a bit much, seeing as like road games have been the bane of our models this year, but I don't know. I'm not going to argue with the model here. I've got just a lot of margin here, 17 on my model and 24 on the Athena model here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it could be a decent overplay there. I think Cincinnati, aside from whatever happened last week, I think Cincinnati's they scored a lot of points the last couple of weeks. Oklahoma State has been able to do some more offensive things since Gundy's firing, so an overplay there isn't horrible.
Florida State at Stanford, which, hey, just on the face of it sounds like a lot of fun, right? Okay. This total is actually 54.5. My apologies for this total here, so that's why this is an overplay. So the total is 54.5, Florida State at Stanford. Let me just start with this before we get to the totals here, just for a background on Florida State. So where do you think they've regressed since they started off the season just with their hair on fire against Alabama? Do you think they've regressed more on offense or defense?
Can I say both?
Wow. Okay. You have to pick one. What do you think they're better at now?
I think they're probably worse on defense. They've got to be worse on defense.
Okay. Yeah.
But they can't be that much better. Like, they're probably also worse on offense. No, they're scoring a lot, but now their defense has just gotten, like, exponentially worse.
Yeah, and yeah, I guess there's a couple ways to frame it. Would I trust their offense to run out the clock in a 4-minute drive just to end the game? No. Would I trust their offense to get to a position where they've put a lot of points on the board and they have to do that? Sure. I guess that's what I... Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think this one is, like, sneakily... Like, this could go over. Stanford has looked okay, and Florida State's defense has looked really bad. Like, Ben Gulbranson, again, we ridiculed him a little early in this podcast, and then after that he just kind of, a little, and then he's just shoved our face into it. He's like, no, I am a quarterback, and he is a quarterback. So, yeah, we were, I guess, wrong. Now, to be fair to us, literally every data point we had on him suggested he was not a good quarterback, but he has been. So, props to him, straight up. But
every data point, to be clear, meaning like his entire career through like week 2 of this year.
Yeah, up to that point, every snap, every box score. Yeah, that was what we were based. This was not just like randomly picking. That we based the analysis off of that. This was not just randomly. But no, he's been good, and Florida State's defense has been really bad. So yeah, maybe Stanford does something. This is like a sneakily. I think this is This is like the late game, isn't it? I think, right?
It is.
Yeah. First of all, this is the 10:30. This is Pac-12 After Dark. This is a Pac-12 After Dark game. This is, if something weird was going to happen, this is it. This is the Pac-12 After Dark game where something weird will happen. This could be, again, we talk about the firing range. This is right where Mike Norvell would be. He loses this game, he's right there, right? So this is where I would not want to be going to Stanford, because this is exactly the point where Stanford does something really weird and wins as like a 3-score underdog, and that's exactly what you do. But I think an overplay is good here too. Like 58, this game. If you told me this game was 30-something in the fourth, I think I'd agree with you. I'd be like, Yeah, that makes sense.
Kicks at 10:30 Eastern. You know what this feels like? Not exactly, but similar to
That Colorado game from last year.
and it's not exactly because game day's not here, but that Miami at the Calgorithm.
Yeah, Miami
Florida
at Cal.
team in the Bay Area kicking at 7:30.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be close. And yeah, I could see this getting away from both teams at some point. I could
There's
see like one team scoring 21 unanswered, then the other team scoring 21 unanswered.
there's always a couple of these every year where it's just this game should not be this way, and yet it is, and that's what we love about this sport.
Yeah, you know what the other thing too is, aside from just maybe regression or whatever, and I'm a fan of this guy, I think that there's probably a little bit something to UCLA fires Deshaun Foster. UCLA alum Tony White, now FSU defensive coordinator Tony White, is mentioned for that job. And this defense has regressed a lot since. I don't think those are unrelated. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And like we talked about, we'll have Louisville and Miami, so you don't want to just spoil that, or Washington at Michigan. Those will be talked about in Island Time tomorrow. Looking at our upset predictions, I ate it on Kansas at Texas Tech. Kansas stayed with them for a while, and then Texas Tech just left them in the dust like in the third and fourth quarter there, end of the third quarter. This was a valiant effort. Air Force UNLV, boy, that was back and forth. Did you know that there were actually 2 games that came to a total of 99? This one and there's another one that I think we're on the wrong side of the other one too. And I don't know if it's the side or total, but there are 2 games actually totaled to 99 last week.
What was the other one? I'm trying to think.
Was it maybe Marshall ODU?
No, that was like 48-28 or something
Okay.
like that. It wasn't that game. Was it? It was, yeah, it was the Air Force UNLV and
The winning team was in this. Oh, here it is, South Florida, North Texas.
oh
63,
yes, that's
36.
right. Yeah, I didn't have a play on that game. I didn't touch it.
Yeah, actually, yeah, nor did I. Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
we didn't
but
have an
we
official
were
play.
yeah we were leaning North Texas, and that was incorrect. But yeah, that's interesting that there's 299 totals in 1 week. That is cool.
Yeah. All right. So, anyways, that one went way over, but Air Force couldn't quite pull out the win, but they did cover. So, one loss, one kind of close for me last week. You had TCU over Kansas State last week as well. I think I probably talked you into that. TCU, not their best game. They got to do better than that. Maybe Kansas State is getting together. I don't know. Haven't been really paying attention to them after they just started the season off so poorly. This week, and we'll talk about it, like I said, in Island Time, Washington over Michigan. That'll be interesting. And again, I'm dying to ask your opinion for that, Robert, but
Yes.
we will get that in Island Time. So
Yes, we will.
Stay tuned for that. We'll have a thorough discussion of that. Thank you again for listening to us, hanging with us. We promise we will try to do better. See you on Island Time with Duck, and until then, be safe.
See ya.